Hello guys and welcome back to Gameplay Headquarters. This is the patch notes review from patch 12.0, Enter the Hunter. It's a bit of a long one, so grab a snack and enjoy. First up, seasonal updates, price pass, chests, cosmetics, store. Karnak's cosmetics are available in the gem store. So Karnak will be a new playable character for the new expansion, the patch. Leaderboard rewards, Crash Site, Paragon for top 100 and Elite for top 1000. Quality of life changes. Enchantments separated from idle tooltips. You can now resize in window mode. Videos can be skipped and some Italian localization. Alright. Gameplay changes. The trap and sigil tags have been temporarily disabled. While not playing as a Jules, you can now get heated and chilled slot during level up if you have an item that requires heated or chilled. You can get maximum of one of each. So previously you could only get like one heated slot or one shield. Now you can get one heated and one shield. You can also get option during a level up. This is a really good change. It's a little bit more accessible to get the heated and shield slot on other characters now. Unfortunately, a lot of Jules items still rely on food synergies to make them playable. It's a good change in the correct direction, but it's still not very easy to play with Jules items on other characters. While not playing as Karnak, you can now get Karnak's basic rage skill during a level up if you have an item that requires a rage to function. Okay, so if you don't know it, Karnak will start with a passive skill that says gain 8, 12 or 20, I think, rage when you use a small, medium or a large item. So that should mean if you have a rage requiring item as another hero, does that mean you can actually transform as another hero then? It doesn't say, but since you can get the rage skill, you must be able to transform, right? Otherwise this would have make no sense. So I guess you can transform while playing not Karnak, which is interesting. Alright. Slightly increased the max HP gain in the first 8 levels, plus 50 each. So at level 8, everyone will have 400, 50 times 8, extra health. That's gonna make damage over time builds a little bit stronger, like burn, poison. Alright. Adjusted the way doubling and other percentage-based trigger effects work, so they no longer double dip with persistent percentage bonus. For example, if you had an obsidian item, it would triple your damage when you buff it with another double. Persistent percentage max HP gains now function additively. 2 silver belts, 50% max health, previously would have given 125. So they first give you 50% more health, and then the other 50% was calculated based on your new health. But now they just add both of those 50 together, boom, and give you 100 health instead. So it's a little bit nerfed to health percentage stacking, which is probably a good thing considering how many percentage max health items they added into this patch with the addition of Karnak. Reduced the burn decay rate to 3%. This is a really good change. 5% was a little bit too much. Burn really felt bad last patch. Playing Jules was very difficult because the burn decay rate was actually very terrible. It was really hard to scale the burn builds. If you're 100 burn, you lose 3 stacks. So at 30 burn, it's still 1. At 60 burn, you drop 2. And at 100, you drop 3. It's not too bad. You should be able to stack burn quite well again. I think this is a good change. So that's a huge buff to Jules. We might actually be playing a lot of Jules this patch again. We'll see. New encounters and some new skills. Alright. We'll check that into when we get into the game. Encounter changes. Expedition now consume the ticket upon entering. Okay, hot take. I think the correct play is to just sell the ticket if you get it. It's not really worth going to an expedition and maybe finding something. while missing out on either day 6 to find key items for your build, or day 9 with the other expedition. Day 6 is such a critical day as well, because that's when all the gold items starts appearing in shops. So if I don't even get to sell the extra ticket for cash, I'm not too sure it's the correct play to go to the expedition. Unless you already have a very solid build and you just want to build up your cash a little bit. Eating contest. The eating contest is the merchant that offered to sell you chocolate bars. Starts at gold tier, was bronze tier. Does this mean it starts day 6 and forward? If that is the case, chocolates are really bad now. Not bad on its own, but bad in a way that it was very good to just chunk chocolate bars early game to buff up your low health bar to a decent one to win the early combats. Later in the game, you have so much HP anyways, meaning a few extra chocolate bars will not matter as much. So eating contest, big nerf. I'm not too sure about this. I guess to compensate, they gave the 50 health. Here, where is it? Somewhere. Yeah, here. Slightly increase the max HP gain in the first 8 levels. So that's to compensate for the chocolate bars, I guess. So we can still get chocolate bars, but for free in normal level ups. But that will be the same for everyone, meaning the skill floor is turned down because good players realized the value of chocolate bars, and I guess weak players did not. All right. It also gives you more options to not have to click chocolate bars since it was so good, I guess. We can look for more items. It's gonna make the early game pan out a little bit different. Jules Cafe no longer offers hidden shield slot. These are not part of level up. Good change. Jules Cafe was a little bit weird to hope to find. Now you just know when you level up, you're gonna get offered hidden shield. Tinker can now spawn for Vanessa. Alright. Dooley. Let's look for the Dooley changes. Against the tool type, so Atomic Clock will be a little bit easier to find now, since it has the tool type as well. Cool change. First Aiden, nerfed. Used to heal 20, 40, 60. Now it's 10, 20, 40. Same at Diamond though. First Aiden was really strong early game. Starting with a Silver Aiden was perfect start for Dooley builds. You just automatically won basically early game. So sad to see the nerf since I'm a dual player, but it was probably a good and a deserved nerf. Flintstones redesigned. Previously it gained a lot more burn, there were more reliquary tools you had. Now it is charged when you use a reliquary tool. So if you have a lot of buffs, burn buffs, cinders on this is a buff. If you don't have any burn buffs or anything, it's still decent burn and quite good speed, since it gets the charge. So Flintstones might be a really solid item now. Forklift. This has 125 to 50 damage for each unique type on your other items. So Forklift is this item that currently gets 150 or 300 damage for each tool, apparel, tech, weapon, ray, relic, property, vehicle, or friend. Now it just gets this for each tag. So it will be a lot easier to play the Forklift now. Since you don't have to care about these specific tags, and you can play actually any tag. So that's a big buff to the Forklift, and we might actually try to play it. It's a little bit easier to just throw into the current build you have. If you find a really early Forklift by chance, you can just chunk it in and it will deal quite a lot of damage. Hydraulic press. At the end of each fight, permanently destroy the item to the left and gain 246 gold. It was the same except for the gold before, so they just wanna give the player a little bit more econ while you press items. I guess you can use the press if you have it by chance, just to gain chunks of gold. It's gonna be a little bit weird though, getting 246 gold per fight at the cost of holding a large item in your stash is probably not worth it. Candid Cannon corrected an issue with this wouldn't charge itself, it gained core tag. It should never charge itself, it gained the core tag, because the text says when you use a small item charge your core. This is not a small item, so even if it had the core tag, it should not charge itself. So that's a complete misconception for some reason. Propeller Hat gains the weapon type, cooldown to 4, deal damage when you use the core and item starts flying. When you use a flying item, haste an item. So previously it was at the start of combat, your core goes flying, and you had this passive effect here. Now it has a cooldown and it deals damage. The important thing about the Propeller Hat now is it will still make the core fly eventually, right? When you use a core and item starts flying. So if you have the flying core will make your other items fly, and eventually when you use the core, this will actually be forced to trigger on the core as well. So it still has the core gets flying, just not at the start of combat. It still has the haste, and this is a really important change. It is an active item. So if you play it with a flying core, it will actually charge the core, right? Since the Propeller Hat will fly as well. And when you use Propeller Hat, if it's flying, it's gonna charge the flying core. So that makes Propeller Hat a much more valid item if you play Launcher Core. Guess you could play it if you want flying with an other core as well. It's gonna be a little bit slow to make all items fly though, but since you use the core a lot, maybe it's gonna be valid if you need flying, that is. I guess if you're flying haste, it's gonna be a little bit slow uptime for other builds, but it's still okay. Probably want to look for this only if you have launcher core, I think. Jules, apron, shield to 40 was 20. So apron is the item that stacks when you sell food. Currently it starts at 20, now it starts at 40 shield. It used to be 60 shield, and then it was really good, I think. Got nerfed to 20, and they buffed it up to 40. Makes it a little bit more playable. It's a good change. A second stew, heated burn to 4 was 3. A second stew has a multicast like 5, depending on your other items. If you have burn, chill, renew, freeze, game multi. So they buffed the base burn on it. You probably still want to look for a lot of burn buffs on the stew to make it a valid item. Leaves, shield, 20, 30, 40, 50, plus 10 at every level. Good buff. It was a little bit weak and lackluster with both the shield nerfs and the cooldown nerf to 6 seconds here. So this is a good buff. Leaves is a lot more playable now. Basket, quest 1, 8 food required was 12, 15 was 24, 30 was 48. That's a huge buff to basket. Keep in mind, you will not see any chocolate before day 6. So in that sense, it's going to be a little bit harder to sell food. Basket is this item that requires you to sell food. If you sell food, it gains crit, 24, it gains multi, 48. Cooldown reduction. I think this is a buff, even though the chocolate is removed from the early game. You can still buy gumballs, and you can still cycle some small foods with Jules. Buff to basket. I am gonna pick it up early game now. See if we can make it work. It's gonna open up for a lot of crit builds, because basket goes really fast with multicast and crit late game. Makes you able to play massive cleaver. It also opens up for the region build, where you just spam region with forgot the name, but the 2 large region item that basically gives you infinite amount of HP. The farmer's market and the other new large that gives you damage based on your health and what is it called? I forgot. Feast? No? I think a lot of people know what I talk about. I can maybe add it into the YouTube video later. Corkscrew starts at gold tier, cooldown to 4-3 was 5-4-3. So basically only removed from silver. Corkscrew is the use. The first time you use this, use the medium food to the left of this. It's a really good item for builds that requires you to use food like 1 or 2 times really fast. Like the dragon stake that says burn equal to your crit, or the shield, the cheese that shields doubles the amount of shield gets every time it's used. I don't know about the nerf or change here. Doesn't really change much. You're not able to find it as early, I guess. That's it. Decanter starts at silver tier. Church of Food 2, 3, 4 was so basically the only change here was it starts at silver, meaning they removed it from bronze. You probably never wanted to pick it up at bronze anyway, so this is a good, really good change. It's a good item for certain builds where you play only one food. You can play it with a lot of pop, and you can play it with cheese wheel. As an example, you can play it with dragon steak. That's a buff to Jules in general, because it's no longer gonna pollute the pool at bronze as a bronze tier item. Dragon steak cooldown to 7.5 versus 8.6 and starting burn to 10. Dragon steak is the item that gives you burn equal to its crit chance. So buff to this is good. It was not very strong, but it is a valid late game item if you have the correct skills and buffs for it. Fruit press damage gain to 10, 15, 20 was 5, 10, 15. So they're trying to make up for the obsidian and double dipping on dishwasher plus item destruction thing. The thing is, it's not even close enough. In general, with Fruit Press, you wanted to have a lot of base damage on it anyway, and that's how you multiplied. Now you have to rely on food uses to gain the extra damage, and after that, like, no, it's not gonna be good. Basically, what the dishwasher does now is it adds like a free hit from the item destruction from Fruit Press. So it makes Fruit Press start with twice as much damage. So basically, use your Fruit Press at the start of fight, and after that, it's completely wasted except for the haste effect that it gives. Meaning you probably don't want to play Dishwasher with Fruit Press anymore. Meaning you can play all foods with Fruit Press. But after the first hit from Fruit Press, these damage buffs will not be as effective. So you want to use as many food as possible before Fruit Press first goes off. Now, unplayable item. Do not touch this item because of the nerfs. Giant Sub. Cooldown to 8.6 was 6. When you use a tool, charge this 2 seconds was 1, 2. So they nerfed it here, but buffed it at the same time. Higher cooldown, but all the way charged 2. At Diamond, it's the same. Heated, burn equal to this item's regen. And they removed burn equal to highest burn food. So you're not able to play Giant Sub with Gingerbread House anymore. Because before you could play Giant Sub next to Gingerbread to, when you use the sub, gain a big shield. And at the same time proc the burn on the Gingerbread House, and this got the burn. Now you need to play this with regen items instead, really high regen items. Maybe you could do something with Farmer's Market on this. This Farmer's Market gives regen based on your HP here. Regen equal to 1% of your max HP. You could play this to copy that regen and gain burn equal to that. It's not that good. Emu, burn 468. Heated when you slow, burn 468. So Emu is the Jules burn when you slow item. It was a little bit hard to get going because of its low burn value here. So a little bit quality of life +2 at every stage. It's gonna make it a little bit easier to pop off with the Emu now. Or transition into, I should say. Meat Tenderizer started gold tier. Cooldown 4-3 was 5. So Meat Tenderizer, when you use it, reduce the cooldown of adjacent food by 10%. Used to be 5, 10, 15. The damage does not matter because that's not why you use the meat tenderizer. This is a straight up buff. At 4 seconds, give 10%. It used to give 5. Wait, it starts at gold tier. So you're not able to find it at silver. Okay, so at gold, it used to give 10% at a 5-second cooldown. Now it's straight up a 4-second cooldown. At diamond, it gives 10%. It used to be 15. But since it's a 3-second cooldown, you're basically gonna get 15% value after 4.5 seconds, right? So after 3, you get 10. So after 4.5, you're gonna get the 15% in general per second. So it's buff at gold and a buff at the diamond. You might see some weird meat tenderizer build really pop off, giving items 1-second cooldown. Mousetrap against the trap type. Saffron starts at gold tier. Shield 2550 was 5, 10, 15. So that's a huge buff to Saffron. Saffron is the item that gives shield equal to this item's shield. The problem with this is that it had really low starting shield. With Saffron starting at 25 and 50, it's much more easier and accessible to just chunk in your build right away. So if you have a gingerbread house, look for Saffron. Saffron will transfer shield to gingerbread house. When you use another food, you shield more. Boom. It just makes the gingerbread house scale a lot better. That's a buff to Saffron, even though it's harder to find it early. Spice Rack. Crit chance scaling 5, 10, 15. So they nerfed the scaling. But when you crit with an adjacent item, your burn items gain 5, 10, 15 burn for the fight. Was when you crit when I'm charged another item. Okay, so Spice Rack is just a straight up burn buff item now instead of charge. That kind of sucks. I used to play Spice Rack with the basket to make it an infinite combo with another fast crit item. So it's a little bit nerf in the basket. When you crit when your burn is give if you have an item that crits every time, which there are with Jules, like you have the burrito. Burrito. At heated, it has 100% crit. And there's also a small, like, 6-second item that has 100% crit on heated. But the burrito is what you're gonna be looking for, since it's a very fast 3-second item. So every time you use the burrito, all your heated items gain 5, 10, 15 burn. Spice Rack plus burrito. Spice Rack, silver item, burrito, silver item. So at the day 2 and forward, look for medium items with Jules. Find Spice Rack. Find burrito. And this will just carry you very, very far. I'm not sure how far. Can this even win the game? If you're snowballing hard enough, I think you could actually go 10-0 with this plus burrito. Trail mix just as basket, lower the food required. Harder without chocolate bars, but lowered food required. Probably makes it easier to finish anyway. I'm gonna pick up trail mix and basket very, very much in the early game here. Sarlacc, burn to 2, haste 1 to 3 food items for 2 seconds was 1 to 3. And now it burns as well. Holy smoke, that's a big buff. Sarlacc was already very good. When a food's crit chance increases, charge this. So if it keeps this effect and gets the burn, the Sarlacc can actually crit itself, which is gonna charge itself now. So that's a huge buff, and it also longer the duration. But maybe if they remove the text here, it's not gonna be as good. It's still a pretty good haste item, but it's not gonna be bonkers. It's very, very good if you have a when you use this gain crit chance. So in general, Jules, very big buffs, considering the burn decay rate was changed from 5 to 3%, and all of these items basically got buffed. Except for Spice Wreck is buffed since it's another item. Yeah, Jules playable again, question mark. We're gonna try it. Mac, Athanor, start at silver tier. I'm not gonna be as competent reviewing Mac items since I don't play him very much. When you use a potion, burn. So that's a buff to Athanor. Since it starts at silver, it's easy to find. At the start of each day, upgrade a lower tier potion and get a catalyst. Oh, you actually upgrade lower tier potions. That's gonna make Athanor a lot more playable. Black Rose, buffed base regen, Cellar, slotted bronze. No longer upgrades potion. I guess that's a nerf then. Floor Spikes gains the trap type. Cooldown was 7, higher cooldown, lower damage, lower poison. Okay. Potion can transform into a potion from any hero. Okay. I wonder what potions there are, except for Mac. I can't really think of any right now. Recycling bin can transform potions into potion from any hero. I guess the new hero got some potions, I guess. Show Globe starts at bronze tier. Burn 6 was 4. In 6 was 4. When you use a potion, gain this amount of burn. Was this? Alright. It's a buff to Show Globe. Corrected an issue where Shiny was not working. Alright. Now comes Pig. Beehive. First off, it doesn't start with 50 max health compared to other. So nerf, like early days here, quite a lot. 50 max health early game is quite a lot. Day 1, day 2, day 3. It really made a difference. Beehive now gives a bee when you buy it and at the start of each day. That's gonna make the beehive a lot more playable. It was very hard to get a lot of bees. Now it is somewhat reliant, but you're gonna have to wait like 5-6 days until you have a good amount of bees. Now charges all drones, buffs all small drones. I guess that's gonna make you able to charge cargo pants or the big large llama. I don't know what it's called, because that has the tags of your items in your stash or backpack or board. Booby Trap is reworked, gains the trap type. So Booby Trap is when you use a property charge this. Freeze 1, 2, 3 items. Reworked. The first time an enemy uses an item, freeze it, add 2, 3, and 4 other items for 2 seconds. So it's basically like a big icicle that activates when the enemy. I really like the trap type of card. I think it's a cool way to build your board. To slow down the enemy and then maybe activate some trap cards to make your big, large payoff item. Buy some time for it, basically. Yeah, it's a cool change, and I think it makes it better. Like freeze at the early stages is very, very underrated, because a lot of late game stuff is decided on their like first seconds anyway. So if you can freeze it and 2, 3, and 4 other items, you're basically gonna board lock them. I wonder if it's worth the medium slot though, but I think it's probably pretty good, since I like to play icicles in late game. Business card. Wait, starts a bronze tier. 1, 2, 3, 4 was whoa. We're always gonna pick up the business card. After 5 merchants you visit, upgrade this. Business card is gonna be the big pig free scaler item. I love that it's a small item as well. You can just have it in your backpack and scales passively. Big value gain here for free. Caltrops gain the trap type. Crash Cannon redesigned. Deal damage equal to twice the amount of gold you've gained this run. Holy smoke. Right now, it gains damage equal to double the amount of gold gained, but only when you have this. That means, like, you can actually pick up the cash cannon now in late game. Say you have cycled a lot of items, like for 600-700 in late game, and this cash cannon just pops up. It's instantly gonna have 1200 damage. You do not have to have it in your back to scale it. I wonder if that makes it so you always play some kind of value build, cycle everything always that you can, and eventually you're just gonna pick up the cash cannon, right? Because you want to visit medium shops and just play into it. Just play into the fact that you're probably gonna hit cash cannon at some point. I wonder if that's a valid strategy. I might try that. Cold room to 8 was 6, freeze duration to 1 was 0.5. So in my eyes, this is a buff. Cold room. When you freeze, gain 258 regen, it's the same. When you use adjacent proper tool, charge this. When you use it, you freeze 1, 2, 3 items for 0.5. So the active effect about this was only about the freeze duration, right? It was not about how many targets you freeze, unless you combine it with other items that says when you freeze do this, because in that case it's a nerf. So it's a buff to the lockdown potential. Since now after 8 you're gonna get 3 seconds of lockdown instead of 1.5 seconds of lockdown after 6. Buff to lockdown, nerf to when you use a freeze do this. Crook nerfed a little bit. So a lot of people play the crook to get medium items off the board. I don't know if it needed a nerf. Sure, a lot of the crook builds just kill you mid-game, but it was not anything broken or anything like that. I think it was a fair build. So I'm not too sure about the crook nerf here. Crystal Bonsai, cooldown to 3 was 4, heal 1 to 3, does not change it. Crystal Bonsai is the item you use versus PvE to gain value, and if you lose, you destroy it. So basically you just threw this in to farm cash anyway. This doesn't matter. I guess they're trying to make it a little bit more playable into PvP, but it's too risky to play it, in my opinion. So Dog Quest is buffed since it doesn't require as much food, just as the Jules quest. However, it's same reasoning again here. No more chocolate bars, and it's gonna be very, very hard to find 15 food or toys with dog, or 30 or 45, since chocolate bars are not gonna show up. Basically, you're gonna rely on finding gumballs, and gumball is very, very pricey since it costs 10. You could buy chocolate bars for free. Probably unplayable now, dog, even though it's technically buffed. It's nerfed due to the removal of chocolate. Fort starts as diamond. That's a good change. Fort builds are really oppressive when you find them at Pygmalien. Hogwash starts at silver. Cooldown lowered. Heals for more. Hogwash. Wait. Heals for 10. Now it's heal for 10. Okay. It's a straight up buff for Hogwash then. Still probably unplayable. I'm not a fan of gaining max health in the fight. I'd rather have a lot of health before the fight starts when I play Pig. Pygmalien Dagger, deal damage equal 1 to 3 times. When you sell an item this gains 1 value. That's a nerf to Pygmalien Dagger. I think they think this is a buff. But Pygmalien Dagger, deal damage to 1 or 2 times this item's value. So they buffed the amount of damage you're gonna get here. However, at diamond, you used to get 2 value. Meaning for every 2 gold, you got twice as much value. So say you got 2 value, you dealt 4 damage. Now you're gonna get 1 value. That means you're gonna deal 3 damage. So that's a nerf damage-wise. It's a nerf also how much gold you get with the diamonds here. And sure, it starts earlier, so you can pick this up at silver and just use it for some cash. That's probably a very good item still for that purpose. But if you want to make this playable, they should at least make this 4 times this item's value. It was not really playable before when it had the 2 here and double here. So they could even make it 5 if they wanted to make it playable. It's still a very good econ item now, since you're gonna find it at silver. It's gonna help your econ quite a bit. Landscaper gains value for the fight, replaces out of combat scaling. So this is actually extremely unplayable now. Your shield item have shield equal to this item's value. When you sell 10 items, give this value. So if I have sold 10 items, I would start with 24 value. Now, when I use this after 5 seconds, I will have the same effect. If I sell more than 10, it's like after 10 seconds, you're gonna get 40 value. But I might have just have sold 20 items and got the 48 value before. So that's a big buff to Landscaper. Fight's not gonna last more than 10 seconds anyway, in a lot of the cases. So gaining value during combat, I really hate or dislike items that says gain value during combat. Monocle, redesigned, cooldown 654, shields equal to the amount of gold you have gained this run. So similar to the cash cannon, you can just pick up the monocle somewhere in the run. However, the monocle cooldown lowered to 654. Monocle before times your gold, not when you gain gold or anything. So this was like, okay, I throw it in because I have nothing else. But right now, you can easily have gotten like 500 gold this run. Throw in this and have a small item that shields for 1500 without problems. That's actually super bananas. Monocle is a super strong item now with this change. Ointment, the same. Heal, you get them with the gold. Small item with 1000 shield, basically, if you have spent 300 gold, which is no problem with Pig. Pawn shop is changed. Starts at bronze here. It's gonna be a lot easier to find pawn shop. You have max health to 10, 15, 20, 25. This item's value was 10, 15, 20. So far, everything is buffed here. However, when you sell an item, gain one value. Used to be 1, 2, or 3 value. So if you think about it, it was not really playable at silver tier scaling. At gold, you started to see some progress because you got 2 value on it and multiplied that by 15. So every time you sold an item, you got 30 health. Now at gold, you're gonna get 20 times 1. You're gonna get 20 health. So that's a big nerf to pawn shop when you sell items. However, you're gonna find it more early. Even though you don't cycle earlier, you could still just have it on your board and scale it with other items that gives this item's value. So it's a little bit better in that sense, if you want to give it more value from other items. But as a self-sustaining item, it's real unplayable now. You're probably just gonna use this as a cash grabbing value items, just like the Pygmalien dagger. When you sell an item, gain 1 value. When you sell an item, gain 1 value. So dagger and pawn shop, they're all about just getting extra cash here. I don't think the value here is gonna be enough to scale pawn shop into a late game health Pig. Pinata now gives a chocolate bar, gumball, and a small toy. Pinata is this item. Unless you had a really good item, I would never buy this. Or if you had some kind of reward for selling food or small items. Now it's actually buyable, since you get some cash back here as a small toy. The gym is redesigned. Cooldown to 8. Active when your weapons gain 369 for each weapon you bought this run. So you used to use Gym here to scale health, so it's changed. That's a big nerf to Health Pig. So they nerfed Pawn Shop and they nerfed Gym, two of the best health scaling items for Pig. They kept your weapon gains damage during this run. It's gonna be a little bit easier to just pick up and play the Gym, since you already have bought a lot of weapons this run. However, if you don't know you have Gym, are you really trying to cycle item weapons then? Let's say you buy and sell 20 items before you find this. And you're probably gonna find it at silver. So it's gonna give 60 damage to your weapons after 8. And when you upgrade to gold, it's gonna give 120. Not sure it's playable. Used to be 246 and double. So if you bought a 2 gold item, you gain 4 damage. Now you gain 3. Your weapons gain. So it's a straight up nerf if you already have the item. But it's a buff since it gives for a weapon you bought before damage wise. But a big nerf not getting a health buff here though. Regal Blade, they buffed the base damage by 50 every level up here. And they nerfed the quest by 100. So it will have the same base at gold and even a bit more at the diamond now. However, the Regal Blade was strong at silver or bronze early game, just for it to have 250 extra. So in general, it's a nerf to the item. Lowered the quest by 1 here, doesn't really matter. Safe has a rare chance to drop a bar of gold or a bag of jewels. Buff to safe, I guess. Shipment only spawns items not from Pig. That's a buff to Pig, I think. Because in general, when you play by shipment, you bought it to like cycle items and look for items, right? Meaning you're much more likely to find a small item from any hero but Pig. You're much more likely to find a haste or a charge item now from this, since Pig doesn't really access those kind of items. Snow Globe, cooldown, lowered, freeze to 1. So it's buffed to the amount of freeze you do, and it's a nerf to the duration of the freeze you do. Snowmobile, cooldown to 6, was 876. Snowball is straight up buffed. It's this item. When you freeze, charge this 3 seconds. I wonder if that makes it playable now in the mid game. T-set no longer burns. Burn buff is buffed. Still think that is a nerf to T-set. Vineyard redesigned just like the other item. Cooldown to 5. Multicast 2. It's pretty fast multicast item. Heal from max health when you heal slow. Why do you want to slow as Pig? What payoff could you get? I don't know. Can't really think of a slow payoff now with Pig. And if it doesn't have slow payoff, it doesn't really matter. Because you still need a way to kill the opponent even if you're healing. Guitarian Club was 1000, 1500, now it's nerfed at gold. Yo-Yo starts at silver, same charge. It's a little bit easier to access Yo-Yo. Stelle starts at bronze tier. Airplane Glue, nerfed, buffed since it starts at bronze. Battle Balloon, buffed. Booster Saucer, nerfed before diamond. Darts, Cooldown to 4 was 4, deals half damage, every third deals triple. Whoa. That's a big buff to darts. So they half the cooldown and half the damage. So you'd think that makes no difference, but just having lots of fast items, especially 2-second items that has start of combat activations, just makes your board pop earlier. And this is also a buff. Triple damage instead of third hit crits. It's much better because now you can deal triple damage and get the crit. So basically you can get 6 times damage if it crits. So darts actually somewhat playable now. It's a by it being a 2-second item. It's very, very cool. Firecrackers, cooldown to 3. Ammo to 3. Damage buffed. 3x damage and destroy was 5. It's a lot easier to pop the item when this runs out of ammo destroyed for the fight. It's probably a buff. After 9 seconds it gets destroyed instead of 15. You probably want to kill them after 9 anyway. So if you like put it all together, after 3 seconds, after 9 seconds, you're gonna get 3 hits plus 3x damage and destroy. So that means it basically has 1.5 second cooldown here. 1.5 second small item cooldown. If you played like an aggro Jules Stelle, aggro Stelle build with firecrackers, darts, just go full small item weapons with some buffs, might actually be very, very viable. That's a huge buff to firecrackers and darts. Small item weapons incoming. Fly cycle redesigned. Your shield items have extra shield if you're flying double this. It's an interesting item. Hangar. When you use a vehicle or drone, your flying weapons and shield gain 8 to 24. 8. Alright. Hang glider, your flying weapons, and this gains damage for the fight. What's your flying weapons? And this also gets the fight. So, hang glider. You can actually use this as a weapon now. I mean, it was a weapon, but it only had this, right? When your item stops flying, deal. Now it buffs itself. That's a huge buff. Yeah. Hang glider is a big, big buff now. It's actually gonna be very, very, very strong. Hydrogen tank, cooldown to 6 plus 5. When you use adjacent vehicle, charge this. If you have a vehicle used as a start of fight, it's gonna make it a little bit more of a combo item now. Like if you wanna create infinite loops and such, you can use this adjacent to vehicles, and then the hydrogen tank will haste them instead of just using it to start a fight very, very fast. I like removing start of combat like items. It's not very fun to face. Ice bomb starts at gold tier, was silver, cooldown to 4 was 3. Right, straight up nerfed. It's good. It was very, very strong in item destruction builds. Kite starts at bronze. Cooldown to 5. A lot of small items starts flying. Wait, Kite is very strong. When your item starts flying in region, one item starts flying. By just having 4-5 small items to start fly after 5, you don't have to find fly start. You can just play Kite as your only fly start, and then you're just gonna charge them when they stop fly. Kite is super strong now. Launch tower. Start at silver, cooldown to 6. Charge your vehicles 1 to 3. It was use a vehicle. Your flying weapons have extra damage. 6 seconds. Charge your other 1 to 3. I mean, if you could charge the launch tower back, it could create somewhat of a loop. But I think the use another vehicle tag was super strong, since you could use laser, space laser. You could put vehicle tag on this and use it with the launch tower. I mean, it didn't happen that often, but you could, and now you cannot do that anymore. Lava roller cooldown lowered. Destroy an adjacent item. Burn was buffed. When you destroy an item, this gains 5100 burn. That's a big nerf to lava roller, even though they buffed everything here. When you destroy him at double, this item's burn is removed. So that was just what made the lava roller really, really bananas. Now it's more of a fair item. It still gets a lot of burn. And it is a little bit faster. You get faster item destruction with this, but you don't really go like giga strong with the lava roller more. I guess 300 burn is still pretty potent, but yeah, it's a fair item now at least. Oblivion Cannon. When an item is destroyed, this gains 400 damage. You used to get 50 or 70 times. So if you destroyed a 4-second item with Oblivion Cannon, you used to get 200 damage. If you destroy an item above 4 seconds, this is a nerf, since you would have gotten more. However, it's gonna be like a diamond tier. It's probably a buff, no? Because a lot of times you destroyed small items, right? Wait, when an item is destroyed, yeah? And Oblivion Cannon itself destroys the smallest item. So if you destroy a 5-second item, you gain 400 damage now, which used to be 375 damage. If you destroy a 6-second item, like, it should break even or somewhat around 6-second items here. So that's a straight up buff to the cannon, I think, depending on the cooldown of the item you destroy, of course. Shouldn't change it too much. Oxygen mask shield 20 was a lot more when you use another vehicle tool. This gains shield. Parts picker 10-8 when it's destroyed. Pressure heater cooldown 6 was 5. When you use another tool vehicle, charts this. Recycle bot also shields of 20. Red lantern started silver. Repair drone 4 was 3. Security drone cooldown to 8 was 5. Shield shield 24 to 60 80. It's nerfed. When an enemy uses an item, charge this. Well, this is flying, reduces its cooldown by 2. Whoa. So it goes back to 6 when this is flying. But when an enemy uses an item, charge this. When an item uses a charge this. Oh, it always had that. So it's just a straight up nerf. Used to be 5-second charge this. Now it's at best a 6-second charge this with a lower shield. Okay, straight up nerf then. Sky Anchor. 50, 100, 150. Straight up buffed. Twice as much damage. A diamond. 50% extra damage here. And 50% in extra here. Space Laser gains Ray type. Well, it's not gonna change much. Stealth Workshop. When you use a tool, charge 1 to vehicle drones. Or charge a vehicle or drone 1 to seconds. You can charge 2 vehicles now. Instead of by 2. I think it's a nerf. Targeting drone. haste the item to the left of this 2 seconds. It's a nerf haste time, uptime. And it's a nerf crit chance. Big one. Cooldown to 14 was 12 for. It's destroyed. Oh shoot, they really nerfed the big one. So a lot of stealth players just destroy this over and over to kill you in seconds. Now it's basically unplayable. It's such a big nerf. Vortex Cannon, cooldown to 5 was 4. When any player uses a flying item, this gains damage. Okay, nerfed. Vanessa, Bilgeworm. When an enemy uses their leftmost item, deal damage. Lifesteal. I don't know what that item is. When your enemy uses the leftmost item, deal damage. Huh. That is interesting. I think it's the first item they print with this text. Right? So you actually have to think about your placement now versus Vanessa players. You want to place your slowest item leftmost versus Vanessa. If Bilgeworm is ever good, you play your slow items to the left here when facing Vanessa. It's a very, very, very weird text. Bladed hoverboard. Damage to 24 will be nerfed. Boulder against trap. I still don't think the effect is the same. It's just the trap type. Cool. Butterfly swords. Nerfed the diamond, buffed that silver. Calico 6 for 7. No longer deals double crit. Cannonball. Buffed ammo that gives. Clamor starts at silver. Cooldown. Nerfed. First 2, 3, 4 times your enemy uses an item, use this. At the start of fight, use this. It's a big nerf to Clamor. No longer has start of fight. Nope, it's not gonna be that good. Concealed dagger. Starts at bronze here. Cooldown to 4. Deal some damage and haste. And a starter fight with gain gold. Huh? Concealed dagger. Cooldown to 4. 4-second small item. That deals damage and gives haste. Alright, concealed dagger is giga playable now. You cannot get both damage and haste at a cooldown of 4. That's way too strong. And on top of that, you just get 1 gold as well. It was very, very strong to play with the Duel, you know, with the launcher core. You could just farm gold with this item. But with Vanessa now, very, very nice item to play. Coral, cooldown to 5 was 6, buff. Crow's Nest, if you have only 1 weapon, it has lifesteal, and it's affected by slow for half as long. Okay, buff. 1 weapon Crow's Nest builds have not been very strong. Cyber say, start at silver, deal damage. When you crit, a weapon gains crit chance. Alright, so it's just changed. I'm not sure how it's gonna transfer. Diving helmet, redesigned, golden to 8. Charge adjacent items when you charge this. Huh. So when you use another aquatic item, charge this. And adjacent items are aquatic. And then, so you could play a lot of aquatic items. You could play any items of choice next to the helmet. And use the other aquatics, preferably really fast aquatics, to charge the helmet. That is gonna charge an item. Does not have to be aquatic. If you want to speed up the process. Looks a little far-fetched. I can't really think of a build I want to use this in. Elemental depth charge gains trap type. Fishing net from any hero. Aquatic or loot item. Start of day, get a piranha removed. It's a buff to fishing net. Getting a loot from any hero is very strong. Flame signal, rename to bonfire. Holster starts silver. First time you use an item, hits your small items. Sort of fight, hits your what? It's unplayable. Right? A passive effect with 1 haste. But the first time you use an item, at the start of fight hits your small. They just removed his start of combat. Nope, unplayable. Honing steel. Cooldown 3 was 4. Your left and rightmost weapon gains. That's a huge buff, actually. So they lowered the cooldown, and now it gives 2 weapons, and it's not like locked right. It doesn't have to be left of the weapon, so you can play this freely on your board wherever you like as well. So buff, buff, 3 types of buff. Cooldown buff, buff considering it gives 2 weapons, and sure, it's a little bit nerf in damage, but you could basically double this damage since it gives 2 weapons, and you do not have to play it next to the item as well. Ice pick lowered cooldown. Iceberg started diamond was gold. Right, probably good. Iceberg was a little bit toxic. Illusion ray cooldown 6 was 7. Javelin cooldown to 4. Lower damage. When you crit, hits your other items for 2. When this is reloaded, gains 50% crit chance. Huh. Okay, so no longer gains damage. The Javelin is not a damage item. It's a utility item that you want to use if you want to haste your board, basically. I'm not sure about it. I feel like there might be, but it's all your other items. I'm comparing this to like Water Wheel. If you have 100% crit on it, it's probably better than Water Wheel because it's a medium. I don't know. It's gonna be a little hard to get 100% crit on it when this is reloaded against crit. Nah, that's too slow after 2 reloads. I don't think it's good. I might be wrong, depending on how much crit you have on it. Kusarigama. Nerfed scaling. Preserver. Nerfed at silver and gold. Your weapons gain damage equal to half the gold you have gained this run. That's a huge buff to Julian, just as the cash cannon and ointment and such. You can pick up the Julian anytime during your Vanessa run now, and it will be loaded with damage buffs already. So you're gonna see a lot more orange Julians with Vanessa's this patch. Piranha starts at bronze, cooldown lowered at diamond, otherwise it's nerfed. But it has higher base damage, except for diamond, but then it's faster, so... No more has 20% crit. When you use another friend or food shards, this, what the... So if you have 6 piranhas, when you use a piranha, you charge the rest. If they all get used at the same time, 6 piranhas, they are gonna get charged 6 times. That's a infinite combo with 6 piranhas. However, you're not gonna find 6 piranhas, since the net no longer gives piranhas each day. Basically, you're gonna have to buy the bucket that gives a piranha when you buy it. You buy a bucket at bronze, get a piranha. You buy it at silver, get a piranha. At gold, get a piranha. And at diamond, get a piranha. That's 4 piranhas. And you started with a piranha as well before. That's 5 piranhas. So you can get 5 piranhas eventually. When you use another friend of fruit shots, it's still pretty good. But even if you get the piranhas, you're gonna have to get them up to like 6-5 seconds here. It's a cool change. It's probably not gonna be valid though, since it will be too hard to find. You can play 1 piranha, I guess, with the friend or food. I don't know. Pistol sword. Nerfed. Good. It was very toxic. Rowboat. Requires 7 types. Was 5. Probably pretty good. Was a little bit easier to just put in. Always 5. Nerf damage. When you crit poison to half this item's damage. It's 20%. When it's haste, your poison against sticks is 9. Was 2. That's a big buff to the item. So half instead of 20. Sure, it has lower, but that's easy to fix. Just by buffing the damage here. Okay, Scimitar of the Deep. Actually very, very playable now. No picture here though. Seedings alone. Cooldown. Started silver. Easy to find. When you haste, an item gets 5% crit chance. I don't think that's good. When you crit haste, basically you just play this to chunk. You just play this to just give a lot of crit chance to an adjacent item, and you were pretty happy with that. Now it's gonna take too long before this actually matters. After 10 hastes, you're gonna get 1 here. Nah, absolutely trash item now. Don't pick it up. Shark Claws, your weapon gains damage. Your other weapons, so buff to Shark Claws, because it will give it own. It will buff itself basically now. Shark Ray, start at silver, cooldown 6. When you use haste a friend. Wait, when you haste a friend, your friends gain damage and poison. When you haste a friend, your friends gain damage. Okay. Interesting. Swashbuckle, lowered crit. Spyglass, when you slow an item against crit. That can actually be playable in crit builds, slow builds. I guess. It's very easy to slow a lot of items very fast. Submarine. Still too clunky, probably. On the other side. On the other hand. Whoa. Whoa. Submarine buffs? Hello? Okay. So much base damage. It's also very good with only weapon builds. So it cannot be slowed at all if you play Crow's Nest. Since Crow's Nest also have this text here. Slow for half as long. Can still get frozen by half though. Submersible buffs itself, right? Left and right moves aquatic weapon and shield. This is aquatic item and shield. Yeah, submersible, very, very strong scaling item now. Tripwire, gains trap type, turtle shell. And some skill changes. Nerfed arm stealer. It's a lot more difficult to get max health with Pig now. Yeah, they're trying to nerf the max health thing. Seems like. Alright, we're not gonna look through all of these skills. It's too much. Okay, that will be it for the large patch here. So the big thing here is some weird and funny changes to Vanessa. A little bit new items in a way. Nerf to like Iceberg. And nerf to start of combat speed. In general, I think that will make Vanessa a little bit more worse to play in this patch. Losing out on her start of combat haste or slow items. Stelle is big nerf to the item distraction things. It's a small nerf to a small buff to these two if you want to play small items with weapon. I do not think that archetype really works only with these two. She probably needs more support. But these two helps a little bit with go small, full weapon, smash the enemy. Pygmalien. Beehive playable, question mark. And Landscaper big nerf. Pawn shop nerf. Gym nerf. Regal blade. Easier to stack income with Regal blade nerf. Easier to stack income with pawn shop and dagger. However, the big buffs to Pig is all about cash cannon. It will be very, very easy to play cash cannon. And monocle and ointment for the same reason. You just cycle gold, pick up monocle, ointment, cash cannon, and there's your build. Do not need a brain, just cycle gold as much as possible and play that. And pray, basically. Mac, Athanor if you play potion builds, so a little bit of a buff. Otherwise, not much changes here. Jules, very, very buff this patch. If you go shield Jules, buff in early game here. Stew is not going to change anything. The big part take away from Jules though is the burn decay rate to 3 from 5. So it's going to be a lot easier to stack burn again. Dragon Stake buffed, Decanter buffed since it doesn't pollute the pool. Fruit Press actually removed though, since it's Giga bad. Now this is just a pollution in pool. It's not a winning archetype anymore. Right? I don't see how you can... Every time you destroy food, you're gonna need to have a lot of food that are very fast and has CC as well. So you can lock down Fruit Press to go off like 4, 5, 6, 7 times maybe. 100, 200, 400, 800. Let's say you use 8 foods before you use Fruit Press at diamond tier. That's 160 damage. That's gonna make the Fruit Press go up to 320. That's one use. 640 to 1203. 4 uses is 2600. 5 uses is 5000. Yeah, about 5. You need to proc the Fruit Press 5 times with a cooldown of 5, I think it has. That's 25 seconds into the fight. I don't see it really. 12 seconds into the fight with haste, and you do some charge shenanigans. Yeah, I don't see it. It's a little bit too slow now without the dishwasher for the scaling. Saffron buff though. Gingerbread house angle. Meat tenderizer for some very weird like cheese builds. Emu, easier to play. Spice rack, very, very strong with burrito. You can also play trail mix and basket early, try to make it work. Sarek should be a very, very strong item if it keeps it on other passive that gives charges when you gain crit chance. So big winner of this patch, Jules and Pig if cash cannon is valid. Stelle no. Vanessa no. Mac, nothing changed. Dooley. What happened to Dooley? Propeller hat buff. Hydraulic press small buff. Forklift buff. Need some buff, aid and nerf. It's not gonna change much. These are like weird items that are changed anyway. I guess it will be a meta of either Jules, Pig, or the new hero. Unless I'm wrong here. I think Dooley will be the best of these current champions. And we'll see about the new hero. Yeah, Dooley was very, very strong last batch. Jules being buffed is nice. She was not very strong last batch. So I'd say Dooley, then Jules or Pig, and lastly Stelle or Vanessa. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I'll see you guys in the bazaar. Take care.